The Team Never Quit podcast is sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. At Navy Federal, our members are the mission. Find out how they can assist you with buying a new car or purchasing a new home. You can learn more at NavyFederal.org. Back to another episode of Team Never Quit podcast. As always, thank you guys for listening, watching, viewing, and please hit that subscribe button if you want to keep seeing more shows. So before we dive in today's very special guest, let's kick it off with our Patreon question of the day, which is, what causes the most harm in the world but is completely avoidable?
Alcohol.
Wow, man, you just shifted the question and went real deep then. You know what I'm talking about? I was like trash. I think trash laying around everywhere is the one thing.
I think alcohol, because when you drink too much, you become a complete asshole. And it causes a lot of harm.
I'm going to say the lack of common sense. I mean, the common sense is not so common anymore, but if more people paid attention to just having a little bit of common sense, most of the things that you see go wrong are because of the lack of it. So common sense could go a long way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's good.
That is true.
I wonder if we plug a lot of stuff in front of us that doesn't allow us to look common.
Yeah.
Gets in the way of all that.
We have too much.
That's right.
going on.
Complacency. It breeds complacency.
Yeah.
At a minimum, it breeds complacency.
All right, what do you got? It better be good, too, because you just got out of freaking college and it costs us a fortune.
Yeah, what's your
I
answer?
want to say just like how divided the political world is. I think that's something that's avoidable, but I don't know. It causes so much harm just because everybody's always on an opposite side.
Wow. That's a great answer.
That was good, yeah. The polarization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice job. All right, brother. Thanks again for coming on here and doing that, man.
Well, what was your question? Or what was your thing?
His was trash.
Trash.
He hates trash. Marcus
That's right.
literally picks up trash, like, and this is not I'm not putting him down or anything. We'll be walking
Yes,
into
she is.
No, I'm not.
I get made fun of. They
I'm not
make
making
fun of
fun of
me
you.
for picking up trash.
I'm not making fun of you.
Have you ever heard of such a thing?
I am not making fun
I
of you.
pick up trash all the time.
Pick up the thing for us, man.
Everywhere we go, he'll even pick up discarded face masks. That's the only thing I'm like, babe, don't touch those.
You realize that we went to Iraq and Afghanistan, and I've had everything known to man shoved through my body, dude. The whole premise behind trash, it's just you can pick it up. I mean,
I love that you pick up. Now,
and when you're with me, it's really a thing because my queen doesn't walk over trash. I told you that when we got married. That's the main reason why I do it.
I love that you do it. I'm just saying.
I don't get any props for that. So that might be the coolest freaking line I've ever said in my entire life, dude.
Yeah, you did good.
Delivery
That was
great,
pretty
too.
cool.
You
That was
did good.
sweet.
You did good. All right. Well, let's get into your story. We have a lot of friends in common, but we've never had the chance of hanging out with you. But we do have, like, everyone who endorsed your book, we're friends with. So we
Really
have
cool.
a lot of friends in common. So if you can just tell us where you're from, give us a little background about who you are.
Because if it's anything like all of us, and the fact that we're still together after all these years, it's almost like when we were born, we were separated, and all guys had to go through all that shit, and now we're here, and we're the last guys that should ever have had one of these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the best that we do. And now we got this too. I mean, we do got some pretty cool toys, man. You gotta admit that. I mean, now
I got a few.
It is. So where'd you start at? Where were you born?
So I was born in a military family. I was actually born in Fort Ord, California, which is an old military base that doesn't exist now, right near Monterey, California, where my dad was in the infantry at the time. He separated from the Army, and we moved back home where his mom was at the time. My whole family's from Georgia, so we got a Southern upbringing, but they all relocated to Daytona Beach, Florida, where my granddad got a job at the Greyhound races. They used to race Greyhound and highlight all the gambling stuff. And then I grew up in Daytona Beach for a period of probably about 7-8 years and split the difference between my mom, because my mom and dad were separated, between Fayetteville, North Carolina, right outside of Fort Bragg, and then Daytona Beach. So growing up in a military family, both with my mom's side, her new husband was in the Air Force at the time. He retired in the Air Force, continued that service. So I was immersed in this kind of military environment. And at the age of 17, decided to join the Army. I mean, like any kid who grows up in a military family, I was like, well, I know my path. And I joined the Army at the age of 17. And
now, was it because of them, or was
started my journey?
Was it because of them, or was it? Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, so I was an only child, but had lots of cousins.
All right. So was it what movie got you?
I think it was a combination of Full Metal Jacket, Platoon, and Rambo.
Such a great combo. I think that's such a great drink. I think that's such a fantastic drink, man, because that's one of the ones that got that. I went that route too, man. And back in those days, the movies they were putting out were the best recruiting tools ever. Hands down.
They were. And they showed the real side of it. It wasn't all glamorized. I mean, Rambo is a story about a Vietnam veteran, Green Beret, who comes back and the sheriff messes with him and he burns the entire place to the ground. I mean, that's a
bro. I mean, it took as intense as it could get. Thank you, Stallone. I mean, that I try to model my, my adventure life after that dude. He kind of laid the blueprint out for all of us. And the cool part was, if you know what I'm talking about?
I was motivated by those movies, and certainly at the time, at least, Hollywood wasn't afraid to tell the doom and gloom and the realness of like what you were getting into. So I think resilience and all the stuff that we talk about in the book, those things were built at a very young age, probably from those movies. In fact, Navy SEALs, which still to this day is one of my favorite.
It's the greatest movie ever made. It's ever made. With Charlie Sheen?
Yeah. Charlie Sheen. When he comes up at the rafter with the MP5
Oh, it's so good.
That's my favorite scene of any movie. That and him jumping off the Jeep.
Off the bridge. When he jumps off the bridge and when he wakes up on the beach in the morning. I mean, that sold me. Whatever that life right there, when I saw that, I was like, I'll take it.
What year did that come out?
The year I hit puberty is when it happened, man. That's like, that freaking movie.
85, 86.
85, yeah. 85. I think it had to be 85 because 85 was a great year for movies. It just absolutely was. But for sure, yeah, we're Charlie Sheen. I'm a Charlie Sheen era SEAL. For sure, man. That guy, he nailed it. That was a good one. All right, so let me ask you a question. When you were your dad was up, so Vietnam was with your pops, right? And then your mom lived down in Daytona?
No, opposite.
No, my dad was actually with his. We moved down because of his mom.
Okay,
so we were in Daytona Beach, and he worked in law enforcement. And then my mom remarried an Air Force guy, who's my stepdad today, and he was a A-10 armament guy.
Right.
And then he flopped over to the civil service side and did armament systems on A-10s afterwards. So I was immersed in it either way. My uncle was in the Navy. My uncle retired out of the Navy after 20 years. And then my dad did, I think, 13 years in the Army. So it was just something that we lived in and were immersed in as kids.
I heard they're trying to get rid of the A-10.
Oh, yeah. They're still trying. They did. I mean, when we were on active
duty they freaking better not, man. I mean, that thing's a legend.
Yeah.
A freaking legend.
It's earned its place.
I completely agree. I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for those suckers.
That's the arm
Same.
of God or the hand.
No, it's not the finger of God. That's a different one. Man, this is the dragons that come through the sky. They got those huge mouths on the side of them, and you can hear them rattling from the sky, and they have this huge cannon right in their nose. And when they open that sucker up, I mean, it's the most impressive thing. Is that a G.I. Joe cartoon? You guys, never mind. But
That's so funny.
Yeah, right. So I mean, just the coolest aircraft ever, and they're trying to decommission that sucker, man. And they got an entire base dedicated to them. It's right off the side of that. That's where I saw them for the first time when I was at Bragg.
Yeah, Pope Air Force Base.
Pope Air Force Base, yeah, man.
A whole side of the base committed to them, and I certainly had a good run with them in SF, and I just grew up in that world. Looking up, seeing C-130s and paratroopers getting pushed out, and growing up at Daytona Beach with my uncle and his brother. Like everything was battle fatigues and playing in the wood line with the guns. It's just how I was raised, and so it was just natural that I knew I was going to join the Army.
You said you joined at 17. What year was that?
97.
Okay, so it's
pre
9/11.
1900s, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up?
The last analog.
That's it.
The last analog.
Hell yeah, man. We came online before online came online.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, so I did 4 years in the infantry and then went SF right after 9/11 and then spent the rest of my time as a Green Beret. Still, I got out as a sergeant major in 2016.
Wow, really? Nice, man.
And then started contracting with the CIA.
Nice. Do you want to talk about any of your career, or
What
do you
was the
wanna-
hardest?
Yeah, I'll talk about it all, whatever you guys want to.
What was it? Go ahead, babe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's go into his career, whatever he's willing to talk about.
So when you came into the Army, did you go in? Where'd you join at? Join in at Bragg? Is there like a depot around there somewhere where you
Yeah,
went?
I actually went through in Florida, and then went through Jacksonville, Florida, and then went straight to Fort Benning, Georgia, the infantry
Yeah.
schoolhouse.
Yeah, and then you did 4 years, and then Green Beret. So when you did that, so that would have been right after 9/11.
Right after 9/11, yeah.
Were you one of the first to actually deploy into Afghanistan?
No, I wasn't, because I was in, at that time, selection, known as SFAS, Special Forces Assessment and Selection, was very short, but the Q course, the qualification course, depending on your job, was long.
What are you?
So both during the invasion of Afghanistan and the invasion of Iraq, I was in the qualification course, getting my MOS qualification, my military specialty.
I thought that was the best time to be doing that. That's
Yeah.
when I was going through too, brother, man, because I'm a Delta, and I
Yep.
didn't know anything. I thought, see, it was a toss up between Commando and Rambo and SEALs. Got me. You tracking? So when I came over to Bragg to go through the Q course, I didn't know that the Delta selection sucked as bad as it did.
The 18 Delta?
Yeah,
Is that
the
what
18
you're talking
Delta.
about?
I mean,
Yeah.
dude, it's freaking miserable, man. I mean, it's like they called it Shawshank Prison, and they were throwing all these lines at me, and I just wasn't paying attention. I didn't know. Well, it's not miserable. It's just like living with a different part of the family, man. Like you don't know what in the hell's going on until you get in there with them. But the greatest part about SF selections, man, is those Q courses. They suck, man. Each one of them are different, but dang, man. And going through that,
it was a long suck, right? It's not like a short duration thing. I think my Q course lasted 2 years.
yeah.
So, and that included the hardest component of it wasn't small unit tactics. It wasn't Robin Sage. It wasn't all these high speed training blocks. It was language training. I had to go learn language, which for me I was lucky because I got
What'd you
French.
get? French?
Because I was going to third group.
Nice.
So French for me was, I'm a half Korean dude learning French going to the Middle East. I don't know how that worked out, but
I mean, some of you guys would get languages, and like that doesn't even make sense. Why in the hell? And it's like because they don't look at your pictures, right? They just look at the numbers and all the quals. I think sometimes because some of the guys, I mean, for as diverse as our fraternity is, especially when they mix us together, we can fit in anywhere.
yep.
But like, there's some dudes
100%.
you're not supposed to send my white ass over to. They'll know I don't belong there. And then they got some guys who can literally pull off anything, like from a gang member to an undercover Muslim to anything to a white dude. I mean, no matter what they put on, they look like they can just blend in. And they made the best operators. Them guys freaking made the best operators, and they're the ones you don't know about. Like we kind of stand out, man. Those guys, they're good at what they do, man.
Yeah. I wish they would have thought about that a little bit. But like you said, at the time, it was very analog. There was not advanced databases and algorithms
No.
detecting anything besides a rank and your last four. So I became an 18 Bravo. I was a weapons guy and went through the Q course. My first rotation was 05 in Afghanistan.
Oh,
I was
wow.
my company. I don't know if you know Travis Osborne.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was one of the medics that was there with you.
Ciao, ti faccio il nostro podcast. So thanks to Babbel, I'm finally getting to learn Italian in such an easy and fun way. And you can too. Once you sign up, you can start speaking any language in as little as 3 weeks. So why Babbel? Because it's proven to work. They've got quick 10-minute lessons designed by over 150 language experts, designed to help you understand and communicate in real-life conversations. You can learn how to confidently order food, ask for directions, and engage in actual conversations that you'd have in real life. Plus, with their speech recognition technology, you can even improve your pronunciation and accent, which is one of my favorite features they have.
I even started taking the Italian class right before I went a few weeks ago, and I must say, mi ha dato molto bene. So with over 10 million subscriptions sold, Babbel is the go-to choice for real language learning and real conversations. If you're ready to get started, we've got an exclusive deal just for you. Get 55% off Babbel subscriptions at babbel.com/TNQ. That's BABBEL.com/TNQ. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Rules and restrictions may apply, so go head over to babbel.com/TNQ to claim your 55% discount and start your language learning with Babbel.
He was in my company. We were in the same company at the same time.
Where were you?
So
What was that?
I was in Naray when all that went down, and then they pulled everybody from JBAD and pulled some guys out of ABAD.
Right.
But I was in Naray, and they told us to, because we were the furthest northeastern fire base of that location, they staged birds at our place and just told us to hunker down and just stand by.
Yeah, Travis is a good friend of ours. He was on the podcast a few months ago.
Yeah, me and Travis grew up in Charlie Company's 2nd Battalion, 3rd Special Forces Group, and then Kent Solheim, who was
Solheim. Have you seen him lately?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Bro, he looks exactly the same, and that damn kid of his is better looking than he is.
Oh, I know. He's like, well, he was a dive team TL at the time in 05, but he became one of my TLs, a following rotation.
Yeah. You know what?
And I was with him when he got shot.
F that dude. You want to talk about Captain America Kendall?
Oh, yeah.
He exists.
He's a stud.
The dude that what y'all think Captain America would look like, and he exists.
Yeah, Marcus
Yeah.
always
He's the one that pulled me
brags-
off the mountain.
Yeah, Marcus always brags that he looks just like a Ken Barbie doll.
You saw him. His hair. I mean,
He does.
after what was that 30-mile ruck run? His hair still parted on the side, real perfect, all blonde. He's got that dentine smile. Am I lying?
No,
Bro.
he's got one leg now.
And he's got one leg
in Iraq,
and he still runs faster than I do.
And he still runs like elite level triathlons. and his son, I think, just graduated West Point.
He did, bro, and it's through I think it's going through Q or has already been through Q.
Yeah,
and he looks
that's
just
awesome.
like him, I'm not talking about a mini me either. The kid's freaking yoked out, looks good.
And Kent's always been a stud, and I mean he's a group commander now. I mean he's like he might even be done with his group commander time. That was like a year and some change ago.
That's true. He's an old man.
Yeah, I thought he was like I don't know the ranks, but he's super high up.
Yeah, he's
that's
an
what
06.
That's what I'm trying to say, but he still runs and does on. Like normally, you get your ass as you go up. You don't have to do all that beat down stuff. He still does it.
Last year, for the Operation Red Wing anniversary, Kent had Marcus out to was it Benning?
No,
where he went?
And don't even ask me the name of the damn base. I can't remember it.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was going to be a test.
It was outside of Fayetteville.
Forgive me, I forgot the name of the base. It's top secret.
It was outside of Fayetteville, but they did.
That's why we say that, by the way. If we can't remember, it's classified.
They did a recap, like an actual brief on that whole mission and what y'all, the Green Berets, did on how to get him out of there and like the strategies, what they could have learned from. It was this big, huge kind of learning course that they did last. It was.
Have you talked to
June
Bo
28th.
lately?
I haven't. I've lost contact with a lot of those dudes. But they're not on social media like I am, and so it's harder to get contact with them.
They're not. I keep in touch with Mario and Bo. A bunch of. I talked to Mario yesterday, and we kind of cycle around periodically throughout the year. I'll add you on that, man, if you want. If you want to keep in touch.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it'd be cool, man. All those dudes. I mean, we were all in the same company together, and there's some good dudes that were there. I mean, I grew up with those guys. Those guys, some of them, like even Travis, was like a mentor to me because I was a young dude, younger than he was. He was young at the time too.
Yeah.
And then we both went to the CRIF together, the Commanders and Extremist Force later on together. But yeah, man, those guys are rock stars.
I think it was better for us too coming up in a wartime environment. I think the training's different. You know, it's not that they were slack on us; they were harder on us. But then they were. a lot of dumb stuff fell away from us. Like we didn't have to deal with it. And then everything was like we needed it. It came in there, and we're all still hanging out together. As a matter of fact, I mean, think about this. He's in the Army. There's no reason why we should know each other, or know anybody in our same circle, right? But we freaking do. Yeah. Not only that, we served with them.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I remember actually leaving that rotation, and right before I ripped out, because they extended our trip because of all the things that were going on at the time, and it was supposed to be a 6-month rip, and it wanted to be like a 9-monther. But the day before I ripped out, I had dinner with one of my third group buddies, Eli, and he was with one of the last Team 10 guys that were on the ground, and I had dinner with him, and we shared some stories. And I don't remember the specifics of it so long ago, but I remember the weight of all the things that were taking place. And you're right, the priorities of work were different for us. Mm-hmm. Guys who are growing up now in the military, the priority of work in garrison is very different than the priorities of work in war. And so we were maintaining, keeping forged and sharp for being able to shape and adapt at the speed of war, when now I think a lot of that's lost. And I feel bad for a lot of the new guys.
I do too.
They live vicariously through the stories that we tell.
I think that happens every generation, right? It has to rotate like that.
Yeah. It was constant.
Yeah, for your first deployment, that had to be really emotional and tough for you. I mean, when you're trying not to even
Where'd you go? What was your first one?
It was in 05.
It was Naray. I was in Firebase Naray.
No, I know. I'm trying to. When did you come in there? How long have you been? Were y'all there before all that happened?
About 4 months.
Okay, so we came in the same time then.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. I was at the fire base, but I was ripping back to the camp there. I think it was Camp Vance at the time.
Yeah, Camp Vance. I remember the first time we pushed out with you guys, because I was special deliveries. We got it when we got assigned to 10, and I thought, we got a pretty kick ass, man. We got to stay on Bagram. There was we could eat, and there was all the food and amenities and stuff like that.
Subway.
Yeah, bro. I mean, it wasn't as kick ass as it is now, like with the volleyball going on, but it was nice for sure. But when we would bump out to you guys, just looking back on it now, is the way they let y'all hang it out there. I mean, they literally dropped you off in the middle of freaking nowhere with just your 4-wheelers and just your crew into a mud hut, right, with a bunch of ammunition, and then they would tell us what to do from there. There's no more hanging your nuts out than that, bro. That's some of the sexiest stuff I get the door kick in and all that other stuff we did, but recon and out in Afghanistan, that's Wild West stuff.
It was Wild West, man. If I still reflect on that rotation, likely that year, man. I had a good couple rotations in Afghanistan, but that year, because of the timing, was the Wild West. I mean, it was crazy, man. I've never had so much freedom of movement and seen so many tragic and beautiful things at the same time.
Yeah, that's a good way to say that, for sure.
So obviously that teed you up for a really incredible career that you stayed with for a long time. You said you got out in 2016, and then you went into being a contractor.
I just have one question. Is it okay, real fast?
Yeah, sorry.
So being a sergeant major, right? So when you came in and you started at the Q course, by the time you put the sergeant major on and you had to turn around and teach those guys coming back up, what lesson would you look at? Like, there has to have been something when you had that position, looking back at yourself, did you giggle at? That you couldn't believe that you were the boss. You're like, no, looking back at those young guys coming up. Something like that happened?
I was like the first, I was the last group of SF guys before they created new requirements on time and service. I was like one of the last guys to promote so fast. So I was only E7 for 2 years. I was the E8 for 3 years. And then immediately, my first look, I got looked at for E9. I got picked up. So it happened so fast. I mean, I was I made the list for E8 at 29 years old. And I was a 30-year-old team sergeant. And that's rare.
Yeah.
But it always, I always looked at it, whether I was teaching the guys or doing stuff, I always looked at it as, hey, man, I'm young, but I have experiences, and I'm going to teach you as many lessons that I've learned over the years as I can. Because I assume the reason I got picked up so fast is because the amount of combat time that I did have and leadership roles that I did have. And as a sergeant major, it was certainly that case. I mean, I think so. I got picked up for sergeant major on the reserve component in 19th Group in Texas, and I had a guy tell me, a lieutenant colonel, tell me that I was the youngest sergeant major in Texas history
Wow.
to get picked up. So.
All right, so it's a big deal that you put the Texas thing on it. You know that, right?
Yeah, I love the Texas thing is a big deal.
That's
for
a
me,
big
man.
deal, bro. I'm just saying.
I'm a big fan of Texas.
It's a big deal, man.
Texas always treat me proper.
So, all right, let me ask you this: what kind of disciplinarian were you? Were you an asshole, or were you kind of let things? Were you just like understandable? Hey, look, I did that. You did it.
Yeah,
you didn't do it as well as I did.
I was never the disciplinary unless it came to standards, and so I expected if you wanted flexibility, you had to meet the baseline. And I think a lot of guys who wanted flexibility.
Oh, they overlooked that. Yeah.
They did.
Hell yeah.
They meet the baseline. So if you met the baseline and if you met the standard and you exceeded the standard, I'd give you all the leeway you would need, all the rope you would need to hang yourself.
So summer is in full swing, and we all just want to make the most out of it by saving money for those road trips, vacations, or even just building a nice cushion. But here's an interesting deal that you may not know about. With GoodRx, you can instantly save up to 80% on those prescription medications. Using GoodRx is a breeze, and the best part, it's completely free. Just hop onto that GoodRx website or app and search for your prescription. You'll discover the best savings at pharmacies right in your neighborhood. We're talking CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, and that's just to name a few. GoodRx also works wonders whether you have insurance or not. Yes, you heard that right. Even if you have insurance, GoodRx can often beat your copay price. So this summer, before you head to the pharmacy, remember to check out GoodRx for those incredible savings. My aunt literally uses GoodRx for every single one of her prescriptions. She's been doing it for years and has had zero problems. She's saved a fortune. So if you're ready to enjoy simple, smart savings on your prescriptions, it's time to check out GoodRx. Visit goodrx.com/TNQ to start saving today. That's goodrx.com/TNQ. Don't miss out on the chance to save up to 80% on your prescription medications. Head over to goodrx.com/TNQ and experience the power of smart savings with GoodRx. I promise you, your wallet will thank you.
Man, that's a natural phenomenon.
It is.
I mean, our guys that put out and freaking squared away, man, and they screw up out, especially when women or liberty or something like that. Look, they get slack. Hell yeah, they do. You're damn right they do. And they earned that. That's why some of them fools act like that. Because it's like earning money. It's like credit. Hard work is credit or money. So when you go do that stuff, that's the best way I can explain our guys.
Yep. I think we call it blue chips at one point in the military. And if you have blue chips because you earned it, because you're in a position where you did the hard work, you gained it through experience, and there's a reason you were there, you were given the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. But now, obviously, disciplinaries, and depending on what school you come from, we call them square pegs. Yeah. A square peg would burn a man's career to the ground with no latitude. And you can't have and breed a group of men who are willing to do the things that you and I did and our peer groups did and still expect them to be on the up and up. It's like the analogy, like a Malinois analogy. You can't train a Malinois to bite, kill, and thrash and not expect him to be on his best behavior all the time. Yeah, you could train him to be a house pet, but expect he will get nippy, and you just have to have that conversation. But to expect that never happens is not a reasonable expectation.
Well, man, if they're scared to death, they won't engage. Mm-hmm. War is dynamic, especially for us, the GWATs especially. Like our generation's we're closed off now. They're the end of us. They started us and ended us, the GWATs.
Yep.
We're completely different than everybody else. So if you train them that way, if they're scared to death, then they won't even engage. We started to see that towards the end. It's almost like, hey man, you got to trust what you train. You got your best guys. It's going to be your best guys. You know they got a moral compass. It's on point. Right? That's why you give them a little bit of slack because you're putting them in an impossible situation. I mean, they're good.
That
all
mentality
good.
is going to breed cowardice. You can't have it both ways.
Can't have it both ways. Exactly. Yeah. And there's always the transition and to calm everybody down. I guess that's what they're trying to do is they try to calm us down when we get back. Well, how do you do that? Well, you got to enforce the rules. Well, what do you mean? Like, well, if you guys walk this way, if you do that, if you don't wear the right uniform, it's going to hammer me. I'm like, but that doesn't register to us anymore, right? Because
there needs to be some transitional time.
I don't know how we're going to come up with that. We will one time. I mean, we'll get it done eventually, but just by talking, I never even thought about that period of our life that we do that, but it's a real thing for sure.
Yep.
So with your career that you had, I mean, starting off on that high note of 2005, which was insane in the war, going all the way to 2016, right now you're one of the leading survivalists, people that look up to for survival and preparedness. What can you say are some key points that you took from your career going into that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think a lot of people, when they look at a career operator or career profession of high risk kind of jobs in the military, they immediately assume the shoot, move, communicate component, the technical skill sets that we developed are the reason why we are the way we are. And what I would say is my military certainly taught me how to have and develop what we call hard skills, technical skills. But the overwhelming majority of me surviving, of peers surviving, had nothing to do with hard skills and everything to do with planning, preparation, attention to detail, culture, physical fitness, health and wellness as a collective. And that's important to note. So it's not a hobby. If you're in a profession where you're a special operator, and it's not a hobby, it's a lifestyle. So when I teach preparedness and survival, this concept of survival has nothing to do with hard skills, even though we teach the hard skills. I think it's necessary. But the bigger picture is you have to understand how to operate and be resilient every single day, not just in the worst case scenario. Like if you want to be a good operator or a good survivalist, you got to be a good man as a start point. So a lot of the things that I grew up in and we took for granted because it was just part of the way we were, I try to teach in civilians. And I think, I weigh getting a good night's sleep over running and gunning with your carbine. And most people in my industry would disagree with that. And I would say, well, if you disagree with that, then look at the degradation of you as a human being, your mindset, your resilience, your ability to bounce back, all the things before you even pick up that M4. So you need to take care of yourself. And I think that is what preparedness and survival is. Certainly the hard skills are important, but that's almost an afterthought when compared to all the other things that we talk about.
What do you think is the hardest thing to teach someone about preparedness?
Resilience by far is the hardest thing to teach. Resilience I would categorize as mindset. Mindset.
You don't think that's a natural occurrence through the situation?
Yeah. So, like we heard mindset, like warrior mindset is what we grew up.
I remember all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like have a strong warrior mindset, or mindset is everything. And certainly it is. The problem with mindset is there's not a lot of experts or people communicating like the how or the why.
Yeah.
If I want to be better in my mindset, what do I have to do? Now imagine in the military, because you have buy-in, because you volunteered, because the people you're with are similar to you, it's easier to develop that warrior culture and mindset because you grow up in it and you're immersed in it. As a civilian, imagine trying to attain that type or high level of mindset and resilience or being the warrior when everybody who you're surrounded with is complacent or not interested in being better. They're just trying to pay the bills. Some of them aren't even trying to do that. So resilience is the act of getting up after you've been beat down, figuratively and literally. And so trying to teach that, in order to develop resilience, you have to expose yourself to new challenges and build adversity through those challenges.
Sure. Well, that's what they do to us. They switch it on us.
Yeah, which means that experience is on you. So like people are like, give me the tips and pro tips on building resilience. And I'm like, it's all on you. And they're like, oh
Yeah,
shit.
that's what they do to us. It switches.
Yeah.
Like most people sit around and wait for the bad time to jump on their ass. We go to it. Like
Yes.
and that's the difference. There's an attitude difference, and everyone. Somebody said this to me the other day, man. It sparked something in my head. I was like, hey, man, throw 50 grand in your pocket and walk around. See what that does to you. After that, throw a damn pistol in your pocket and walk around and see how you feel. It physically changes you when you have something powerful on you.
Yeah,
like
we had the opportunity to be voluntold
and
how
then,
to develop that, and we sank or swam.
How about that? And then we got permission to do it, bro. They backed us up. Like when you have your parents and not only the government and your parents rooting for you, but everybody else, and then they made us do that. There's a natural occurrence that you can't train. It just shows up with that.
That's right.
You can't talk about it. No one knows what it is. No one has any idea when it's going to show up, but it does. Yep. And that's the natural occurrence part that no one ever. They always leave that out. But man, you want to talk about a whole different level.
So as someone that's been an instructor and you've seen all walks of life, do you think it's possible to teach someone out of the, like the flight or fight kind of thing, the flight part? Someone that is just naturally scared. I mean, I am that person. If someone comes up to me, like behind me, my first reaction is, I don't have the aggressive stance naturally, but I mean, because of Marcus and growing up with a single dad, I have been trained to fight back. I've been trained, I can use a weapon very well, but I feel like if I was in that moment, I might need a minute because I do have that natural, like automatic scared moment. Do you, as an instructor, do you think that it's possible to train that out of someone?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think, one of the things in making the correlation with military experience and being a civilian and not having that specific experience is the lack of conditioned training under stress. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we teach is exposure through experiences, but that journey can be your own. It can also be conditioned and calculated. We can create those parameters for you, like we do force on force training. Yeah. We do personal security classes, even coming to a flat range or learning how to stop the bleed. All those things are beneficial in recreating a new baseline. And the things that you're talking about are very natural. Like the idea that you're going to rise to the occasion is a misnomer. You're going to fall to your level of training. And so specifically, training, exposure through experience is going to help you get through these difficult situations, and it can be trained. And, we talk about catastrophe. We talk about disaster, the worst case scenario. All that is a type of stress. It's a high grade version of it, short duration of time, typically very much intense in volume. When you look at low grade, it's just not as intense. But stress is beneficial because we go through it every single day. And that stress is a mechanism of survival. It's supposed to drive your behavior, drive your nervous system to allow you to survive through your senses. Mm-hmm. And so those reactions are very natural. I think the problem now we have in our society is we have and created a new complacent baseline where now we're in fight or flight because we're stuck in traffic, banging our head off the steering wheel. Mm-hmm. While, we would call that first world problems. Yeah. But people in real world problems don't do that because they have actual problems. So I think it could be trained. I think it can be conditioned. And I think most effectively and most important, especially for Americans, doing that allows you to understand your nervous system, period, and allows you to operate when appropriate at that fight or flight, that sympathetic nervous response that's going to benefit you as a mobilization tactic in survival. because it's all meant to benefit you. So I just think we need to understand it by conditioning ourselves for it, kind of understanding the diagnostic of it. And that's going to make us better, I think, as people, but also as people who respond to stress.
Oh my goodness. Marcus and I just wrapped up this epic workout, all thanks to the incredible Fitbod app. If you're looking to shake things up with your workout routine, this app is an absolute game changer. Picture this. Every day you have no idea what to expect, but that's the beauty of Fitbod. It keeps us on our toes with challenging and diverse workouts that kick our butts in the best way possible. Today we tackled such an intense leg day, I can barely make it up the stairs. Fitbod is revolutionizing the way we all work out thanks to its cutting-edge technology and personalized approach. It's like having a personal trainer in your pocket, always adapting and fine-tuning your workouts to suit your goals, your preferences, and the equipment that you have. Say goodbye to guesswork and generic routines. And we would also love to see how you're enjoying your Fitbod workouts, so please don't forget to tag us in any pictures and share your experiences so we can also reshare them. And together we can inspire each other on this incredible fitness journey and tackle 2023 together. Wherever you are in your fitness journey, it is time to maximize your workouts with Fitbod. And right now, you can get a fantastic 20% off your subscription at fitbod.me/TNQ. That's fitbod.me/TNQ.
Can you tell our listeners exactly what you do? Like, do you have a company that does create those scenarios if they want it privately or for their company or whatever?
Yes, I do. So my company is called Fieldcraft Survival, and we've been in business for about 8 years now. We do everything from education, which is like the non-in-person version of training, where we do virtual online training on our app, through education on podcast, on YouTube videos, all the things. And then we also provide training in person, which I think is really important. Everything from canning and jarring, all the way to personal defense, but scenario-based training. We also offer experiences in building resilience. Like I have a course called Rewilding, where we reset the dopamine that's in your headspace. That's basically a fog in your head. We clear that fog for you, show you how to do dopamine resets yourself. And we also provide products. So we offer first aid equipment, stop the bleed, and all the things that we think are essential in living a prepared lifestyle.
Let me tell you something. When it comes to inventions, the guys in the SF community come up with the best ways to stop bleeding. I mean, you want to talk about a shortcut with tourniquets or chest seals or anything like that. I mean, some of the best inventions have come out of that community, for sure. Yeah, it's almost like SF for scouts. Like for when you have Boy Scouts, and there needs to be a next level. There needs to be SF Scouts. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Right?
We want to do. Yeah, that's part of. It's on my mind for sure. Like we need to create.
Somebody needs to freaking do it.
Yeah, we need to create culture back in the communities. That's part of what we try to do with our Fieldcraft fire-based concept. Is, we do jiu-jitsu, do gyms, fitness stuff, but we want to be like the YMCA for preparedness in your own backyard. And I think that's an important facet. I also think focusing on kids and building that resilience in them at an early age is very important.
I think it should be. I completely agree with that. In our family, if you get your black belt and your Eagle Scout, we call you a Black Eagle. And I think it should be in schools. I think that instead of PE, especially for the young ones, jiu-jitsu. I mean, you get your ground game, your base. That's why they call it that. I mean, you start on the ground when you come into this world.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then, I mean, you're always going to fall down. That's what keeps you strong. And as far as the stuff that you teach, it's perfect. They need to have that. And what that does is that opens up their mind to everything else. the world around them. If you have them operating in that, sure. And what you were talking about, that little fight or flight, actually is once you get it, I completely agree with what he said. Once you train that, which is good. If you have that little pause, because some of us just smack the shit out of it. You know what I'm talking about? Like they'll just automatically go in. If you have that, there is that little pause in between to do that. Yeah, you can. That's called a gap, and you can put a lot of training in that actually. Yeah. So you don't want to get rid of it. You want to hold on to it.
Well, so going back to what you're doing now, are you just doing that in Utah, or are you do you actually go places to do that?
Yeah, we do it. So we teach in about 6 to 8 different states every weekend, depending on the guys that are on the road. We also have our Fieldcraft HQ. The headquarters is in Heber City, Utah now. We're relocating to about a 3 times the size, almost 20,000 square foot facility in Provo, Utah. Our first fire-based headquarters will be set up outside of Phoenix, outside of Denver, Colorado. And then the next one would likely be outside of Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. And the goal is just to affect the community head on by having like a access and placement where people can go to get this type of training.
Yep.
But again, part of the things that we do are a lot of it's virtually, a lot of it's online.
So what are you doing? Are you pulling the guys back together? Are you like recreating the A teams, putting them back together and sending them out? I mean, because that'd be great. Bro, for all of our guys getting out, I thoroughly agree with some of the guys when there should be a 2-year enlistment to get out. I mean, it's just to train the guys to get out, because you know how we are. And then once you get out, we're already out here waiting on you. When you and I came into this world, man, there wasn't nothing. Nobody could do anything. There wasn't shit, man. There wasn't anything.
No help.
I mean, we're really the advanced team. Like, we were the first ones out. We were the pure advanced team, man. We had to set the ground, see what was what, and kind of set the stakes. And now everyone's coming out, which is great, because now we can have fun with this.
So obviously you've got teams of people that are doing that in different cities everywhere. It's not you personally aren't in 6
Yes, I have a company of a lot of employees that do good work all over the country. I could never do it by myself.
Yeah.
But I think like what Marcus is saying too is a lot of the task organization and breakdown of how we're building this is based on my experience in the military. And, you know, preparing civilians to me is like VSO. It's like Village Stabilization Operations. It's like, you want to have access and placement, we'll get into the environment where people live, train and educate them, empower them, and that place will be better. The only issue with the government is they get that right because they use us, but then they screw up the rest because they pull us out. And what I want is to sustain this over the long haul, because I think building resilience in American citizens from the ground up, from kids and up, is very important. Which is why we focus on family preparedness.
You know what? I never thought about it till you said it like that, but it's almost as if all the 20 years we've been away, including that VSO, was training when we got back here. So now we actually have to do the VSO. And if you could do it over there in Afghanistan and Iraq, where they hated us, especially Afghanistan, where they were, in there, you can definitely do it here with grandma and aunts and cousins. It should, right?
People are like, is it hard, Mike? And I'm like, dude, you know what's hard is like deploying to Yemen and trying to get some
doing it there
to buy into the things that you're talking about, with a language barrier, a cultural barrier, and an enemy trying to kill you. I mean, this is easy.
In French.
In another language.
Try bending French into Pashto. It sounds awesome.
I had to throw that out there.
That's
Marcus's twin brother Morgan had to take French too, and I laugh every time. I'm like, you
freaking Texas
went to
accent,
Afghanistan and Iraq with French.
I mean, they don't put that into play either. You know, you got these rednecks rolling in there, got these hardcore country accents, man. They try to teach you those languages that just you can't jive those, man. You know, it's funny, man.
It is funny. Well, I find what you do fascinating. I come from a single dad. Before I ever met Marcus, he was always into being prepared. He was one of the first, like prepper kind of guys that I had ever heard about. And I mean, we've always tried to have a big vegetable garden, and Marcus and I have started beekeeping, and we try and do all these things to be somewhat sustainable. I mean, we're not 100%
so I'm kind of second guessing the bee thing, because every time I get my ass lit up which is regularly now on the mower.
You can handle it, babe.
There are some benefits and some, this whole farmer business, bro. I thought being in the teams was tough.
He can handle it. He can buck and complain a little bit.
He's laughing because he's going through the same thing I am. Right? I mean, the exact same thing I'm going through. He's going through.
I was like, I do not want to get hit right now.
Yeah. They've not stung me once, knock on wood, but they keep lighting his ass up. But yeah, we're doing all of that. So I'm super fascinated in what you do. I'm definitely more prepared on the food spectrum, growing our own food and all that kind of stuff. But like, my dad has always been buying a ton of bullets, we even have like a whole closet of arrows. God forbid we need lots of arrows.
They'll work.
Yeah.
You can reuse them.
But I'm fascinated by what you do. And I'm so happy you came out with this book. I'll be sending it to everybody in my family. Is there anything else you want to plug about it?
Yeah, so how does this grow? How do we help you grow this, man? What can we do to send? Because we're putting you out to all of our listeners right now. We're just giving a baseline on you. So
I just want to say thank you. I mean, it's an opportunity to get on any podcast and talk to audiences. Certainly, you guys have built a relationship and rapport with your audience. I hope that everybody can find value in the idea of being prepared. It's always been associated with this tinfoil hat stereotype, which is pretty negative. And most people think it's not something that's practically going to help my life. And so what I hope in the book is I make that point, I make that case, and then offer other ways to find and get educated in all these things. Because there's a lot of experts out there in their own field of expertise. Like, one of the reasons me and Marcus were successful in our military careers is because we had an institution, a culture that was willing to listen to subject matter experts, and we took that information and applied it to our lives. They could be not like us, and we could bring them in and go, hey, you shoot the best of the world. Can you teach us how to shoot good? And not everything applied, but a lot of things did. And I hope that's how people will see this. And this is just the beginning, because for me, the virtual education for this, where I've invested a couple years, a lot of time, a lot of effort in taking the experts. A Green Beret experience is not going to lend itself to being prepared as a civilian. It will help. There are certain parameters of it, but I got a gal named Miss Amber. Miss Amber is a stay-at-home schooling her kids at home mom that has a lot of expertise that she's offering on the application, the platform. I got Kevin Estella, who's a bushcraft expert. You won't find me naked and afraid rubbing sticks together in the woods. That's just not me. But he is that guy who will do that all the time.
That's the best.
He's the expert. So our goal is to provide that value. The application is on a QR code on the back of the book. If you want to continue that education, look into it and just give it a shot.
Getting a new car is an exciting milestone, and you deserve a hassle-free buying experience. And that's why Navy Federal Credit Union is here to make that whole process simple with everything you need all in one place. From start to finish, Navy Federal's Car Buying Center has what you need to research, finance, buy, protect, and enjoy your next car. But that's not all. If you have a new car, how about a new home to park it in? Navy Federal has you covered there too. With their mission is to help military members and their families achieve home ownership. With their new no refi rate drop option, you can buy a new home now and potentially lower your rate later if rates drop, without the need to refinance. Plus, they offer mortgage options with 0 down payment, so you don't have to wait years to save up. Whether you're looking to buy a new car or purchase a new home, Navy Federal is your trusted.
That's exactly what we're trying to do. Is spin that wheel together so when someone checks in and they need an operator in any condition, and that cracks me up with a tinfoil hat, guys.
Which is not my dad, by the way. I need to clarify that. He's not like a weirdo prepper. Hey,
but we have them.
He's just
and here's the deal. Here's what
prepared.
happens is we have one of them. So his job is to make all of us the tinfoil hat, and that'll be one section. But then we got the guy who's good with the gun, and we teach him right?
Yeah.
And we don't alienate him because for whatever reason that sucker's here. And what we know, for whatever reason, we have them. I'm like, man, why is that guy here? We don't ever use him. Watch. Something will freaking happen, and we'll need that guy for something. So
Yeah, 100%. Everybody's an asset on your team.
You can't believe it. That's the one
Yeah.
thing that it taught us, and when we learned over there is because everything got removed from us except for us.
Yeah.
I mean, we just had each other to survive. I used to get on to James so much about one of my teammates about he brought every piece of gear. I mean, it took forever to load and unload. And I would get on his ass about it, and then when we would be over there, sure enough, I'd freaking need something,
And he had it.
and he would have it, and he'd have that look on his face, like
I feel like that's you.
it's me now, but I had to learn that from
Okay,
somewhere. I had to learn it from that guy.
When we travel, I'm the
That's where I
light
learned that.
traveler. I don't bring anything, and Marcus has like a backpack of batteries and
I got it packed out like a med bag, bro.
There's
I mean,
all
you know,
kinds of shit
Same,
in the
I'm that guy.
bag.
I'm that guy too, man.
He has like every charger, all these things, and I bring.
I do my,
nothing.
the color coded, the shirts, the dollar bills in your wallet. I remember I
got to.
tried to adjust
You
her
got
wallet
to.
one time, and she about lost her mind on me.
because
like
You're living that prep life.
Yeah,
You're
prep,
living that
yeah.
prep life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. I am definitely like I'll buy it at Walgreens wherever we are.
I got
kind of
trained just like the rest of my guys. I freaking still do all of it. You know. It's like, well,
He
hey
takes
man,
care
cool.
of
How can we follow you, man? How can everyone else keep tabs on you?
It's mainly fieldcraftsurvival.com and Fieldcraft on everything that we're doing. I got a personal channel. It's Mike Glover Actual on YouTube, and then you guys can see me on Instagram. It's mike.a.glover.
Are you making your own blades? Are you any hardware or anything?
No, we use. There's a couple companies like Montana Knife Company we work with.
Are they
As
our
a
guys too?
partnership.
Are they your partners like from the SF, or are these guys you just met up with, or how's that work?
They're a combination of just good people that I've interoperated with at some point, and people who we just met who are doing good things.
Yeah.
We just got a couple parameters, like they got to be willing to support America.
That's how we do
there's
this.
A few things in there.
That's exactly how we rebuild it from the inside out, and it starts with us. I mean, when
Yep.
people ask me, I get the genuine questions we get. Hey, what's the best pistol? Well, I go get every single one of them, lay those
Yep.
suckers out on the floor.
You need them all.
Oh, you need them all. You got to have every single one of them, lay them out there. But I mean, now we know guys who got out and make knives, in which I
Yeah.
think some of our guys,
Yep.
and even watches, everything. I mean, just
Yep.
wait. Just wait to see what comes out of our generation, man. I just think it's going to be amazing, and we're just kind of getting started with it. So,
I used to
Yeah.
host an all women's shooting camp at our family ranch. And
that's
it was
really cool.
This group
It
called
was, man.
Babes with Bullets would come out, and all these female instructors from all around the world.
the best.
And they brought every pistol, every
Everything that
pistol
kills.
that you can buy.
Couldn't believe it, bro.
They would bring every single one, every size out there, and they said shoot every single one and see what you're most comfortable holding.
That's right.
It
Yep.
wasn't until that moment that they first came out, and we did it for several years in a row, but the first time I picked up every pistol, and I used to think, because I have real small hands, I'm real short, that I needed a small pistol. My favorite pistol is huge. It's that HK, it's big, and it's heavy. I would have never in my life thought that that's what I wanted to have, and it's my go-to. I freaking love
Yeah.
it, and it's because
That's important.
I got to actually shoot every single one and know what I was a better performer with and what I was most comfortable holding. So that is a good point for people, just to try everything and see, because you don't. What
think
you
that was
think
that was-
fits doesn't.
That was the great part about our generation too, coming through with our kit. It's like you could actually tailor it. You knew when you'd run into one of us.
Yep.
Nothing looked.
Yeah.
I mean, our hat and our pat. Not even our hats. Our pat. There would be a patch on there you have to look for.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, we were figuring it out. Not even rotation to rotation, mission to mission.
Mission to
We're
mission,
figuring
yeah.
it out. We started with like holsters on our ankle, and it moved all the way up our leg, and then it's on our chest, and then it's moving back down to our hip. It's like that evolution changed based on the environment.
How about
things
that?
were
And the
happening.
guys with you. Hey man, do I look cool? Because I feel freaking cool, man. And then they'd be like, "You look
always a
cool, but
factor.
it's not really operational." And I'm like, "Well,
Yes.
I don't know. I gotta look. I look like a jackass running through here. That's real? I'm not lying. That is a real
Yeah.
thing for us, man. Because guys will tell you, be like, "Hey, you fucking look good doing that, bro." All right.
As long as you look sexy. Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much
bro.
for coming
Thanks
on.
for doing this,
if
man.
you're ever in the Houston area, or whenever you come next, hit us up. Come out to our place.
I would love that. I appreciate you guys, what you guys are doing as well, and it was an honor being on the podcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of Team Never Quit Podcast. We'll see you guys next week.
This is the Team Never Quit Podcast. So buckle up, Buttercup.